Hey, what is up guys? Epic Pokemon TCG here, and today guys I have a deck profile for you. Now I actually saw this deck online and it looked really cool, and I figured I would go ahead and cover it and show it to you guys because this actually looks pretty sweet. It is a Raichu Vespiquen deck, and if you guys are interested, the list will be down in the description below so you guys can go check that out. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to start off with one of the attackers, which is going to be Raichu, and we're actually going to be playing a 4/4 line of that. Now, I don't know exactly what Pikachu people run anymore, but yeah. I decided to go for the one with Nuzzle. But, yeah, so 4/4, Pikachu's just there for Nuzzle and whatnot. But Raichu has Circle Circuit for 20 times the amount of Pokemon that you have on your bench. And so if you have 5, that's 100. If you have 8, that's a lot. But this deck does play Skyfield in it, so that means you're going to be able to max out your bench and do a ton of damage. And this is really good against a lot of very popular decks like Eevee, Rayquaza. You can one-shot Shaymins, which is pretty much in every single deck if you just have 3 bench Pokemon. And Raichu, of course, does have Free Retreat. This was a very popular Pokemon when it first came out, and for a little while afterwards. It kind of died down in popularity and then shot back up when Skyfield became big. But now that Zebstrika is running around, Raichu has lost pretty good amount of popularity. It's still around. It's still one of those decks that kind of, it's like under the radar. But I still think that Raichu is a very solid attacker. You can just do decent amounts of damage with it. But next up is going to be the next attacker, which is going to be Vespiquen. And we're going to be playing a 4/4 line of this. And Vespiquen is really in here for a late game attacker. Of course, Raichu could just kind of set up some damage and potentially take some prizes and whatnot. And every time a Raichu gets knocked out, there's going to be 2 Pokemon going to your discard pile, which will power up Bee Revenge. It has a base of 20 and then 10 more for each Pokemon in your discard pile. Now, the cool thing about these 2 Pokemon is both attacks cost 1 DCE, or just 2 colorless energy. And so you just throw a double colorless energy down that sucker and you're good to go. Pretty much like the whole concept of this deck is to lead off with Raichu and then start attacking mid to late game with Vespiquen. Meanwhile, you're going to be sitting there discarding stuff, and when your opponent counteracts Skyfield, you can start discarding Pokemon and just the deck kind of flows in one certain movement. But you won't be doing intelligence gathering hopefully too much. If you have to do intelligence gathering, chances are something bad's happening. Yeah, just a 4/4 line of Raichu and a 4/4 line of Vespiquen. That's a lot of Pokemon, which is exactly what you want to see in a Vespiquen deck. But we are not done yet, because we also have 4 Shaymin, and do not roast me for the fact that 2 of these are proxied. So we have 4 of those here. Now Shaymin is in here for the setup ability. These are Shaymins. Alright, we got it. Shaymin is just in here for the setup ability, kind of allow you to go through your deck a little faster. And on top of that, having 4 of them and having them all sitting on your bench will allow you to do more damage with Raichu. And the fact that you have a bunch of them will mean you can use Vespiquen a little more easier and do a little more damage. But you can also Ultra Ball these, you can discard them. You don't necessarily have to have all 4 on the bench or something like that, but if your opponent does get rid of Skyfield for some reason, these are normally the first things that go that you can just get rid of. But yeah. Next up we have 4 Unown. Unown is another way for you to kind of get through your deck a little faster. It's kind of cool because it actually benefits both Pokemon. If you don't want to discard it, you don't want to use its ability, Farewell Letter, that's what it's called. If you don't want to use Farewell Letter, you can have it sit on your bench for extra 20 damage with Raichu. And you can also draw a card when you discard it, and it goes to your discard pile, which will power up Vespiquen a little more. And so that's very good. And then we have an Eeveelution line here. We have 1 Vaporeon, 1 Flareon, and 1 Eevee. Now Eevee, of course, is just going to be there to power up Vaporeon, or to evolve into Flareon or Vaporeon, excuse me. Vaporeon, obviously, it's going to be for those Volcanion matchups. I'm guessing Flareon is for like maybe a Mega Scizor matchup, or maybe the weird Magearna decks that are running around or something like that, or just really anything weak to fire. This could be very good once Decidueye becomes popular. And yeah, that's pretty much all for the Pokemon. Now, pretty much the idea behind this deck is lead with that and lead with that. This is very good because, of course, these 2 could just do a ton of damage. They're 1 prize attackers. And, you're going to be, if you're going against a big EX deck, you're going to be trading prizes and such. And you're giving up 1 while they're giving up 2. And Yep, that's pretty much about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I might have missed there. I don't think there is. All of it's pretty much common knowledge at this point. But for supporters, we got 4 Sycamore, 1 Lysandre, 1 N, and 1 Teammates. These Pokemon all have low HP. It's not that hard to knock out a Vespiquen or a Raichu, and so Teammates can allow you to grab a DCE out of your deck. It can allow you just to grab anything you might need. And, of course, this deck is kind of geared towards relying on your trainers more than anything, and can just be a way to, you know, shuffle your deck and, you know, get things going or just kind of disrupt your opponent. You don't really necessarily need more than one just because of the trainers in this deck and the fact that you have 4 Shaymins and such. Lysandre simply just to bring up stuff. I would feel a little more comfortable with 2, but I think 1's a good number. For the trainers, 4 VS Seeker to go along with those supporters to keep reusing them. 4 Trainer Smell just to search or try to hunt out those key cards you might need at certain moments. Acro Bike would play 4 of those. Acro Bike's really good because if you get a card you can use and in a Pokemon, you can just discard a Pokemon, and that'll kind of power up Vespiquen a little more, help you go through your deck a little faster. And these 2 cards pretty much, or yeah, when I say these 2 cards, I mean like Trainer Smell and Acro Bike individually, are just really good trainers for you to kind of go through your deck and get the motion going. And when you pair that up with Shaymin, you can kind of go through pretty quickly, kind of go through the motion, just get it set up pretty fast. And there's just a ton of targets with Trainer's Mail, which is very good. 4 Ultra Ball, these can help you discard Pokemon, these can help you grab Shaymin or just your attackers, whatever you might need. And so that's very good. 4 Special Charge, or 2 Special Charge, excuse me. We run 4 DCE in this deck, and running Special Charge just means you get to use your DCEs more. So pretty much you have the potential to use about 8 DCE in one game, which is very good. And so that's pretty much why they're in there, is because your energy is straight up just double colorless. Now I can see where a lot of problems would lie with this deck just because of Enhanced Hammer and Flare Grunt. And so with this deck, I recommend not playing down your energy like crazy, kind of conserving it, playing it safe. And if you can, just hold them until you have an attacker ready, instead of just, you know, attach a DCE, go through the motion. If it doesn't get knocked out or something like that, attaching it to your bench on your next turn, because that just opens up the field for them to get rid of 2 of your DCs, and then you're kind of in a difficult spot. But 1 Flowstone. Majority of the stuff in here have free retreat except for your Shaymin and your Eevees and stuff, and of course the Pikachu and Combee. But with Floatstone, that can kind of open up a free retreater just in case you might need one. It's kind of like a switching card. If you feel more comfortable just playing switch, then that's definitely an option. And then we have 3 Skyfield. This is in here specifically just so Raichu could do some more damage, and that way you can power up your bench. And I guess you can use it as a counter stadium. But I was actually going to play a Parallel City in here, and then I realized that's kind of counterintuitive. Just with the fact that you can discard a lot of your Pokemon, like limit your bench down to 3, and then I forgot, you know, like you might be cutting off some damage with Vespiquen, but I don't know. But still, I thought this was a really cool deck, and I figured I would go ahead and cover it. But the strategy is very simple. The strategy is nothing too difficult or complicated. It's just a fun deck to have some fun with. Fun deck to have fun with. There you go. That's the motto of this deck here. But you're doing a lot of damage with 1 prize attackers, and you're just using trainers to go through the motion of your deck. And in all honesty, I feel like this is just one of those decks that kind of plays itself. Every card in here has, you know, a very specific purpose. It's straight to the point and not too difficult to play. But if you guys did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Make sure to like it and subscribe for some more content. And you're all absolutely awesome. Take care. I love you. And this is Epic Pokemon TCG signing out. Take care, guys.